Hey everybody, this is Rich with Project F30, and today we're going to talk about one of the most talked about subjects in car history. Why did you buy what you bought? And specifically for me, why did you buy a 328? Well, let's start off with the fact that this is a 2014 BMW F30 328 Xi, okay? And there's always a lot of questions around that, considering I've been a gearhead all my life. The answer is actually really simple. It fit my budget. It worked. And it's something that was in my price point, and I could manage the monthly payments. And it was a car that was quick enough, had the ability to be tuned the way I want to with the dependability that I care about, right? So I came from V8 muscle cars. I've still got a 74 Chevy Camaro that I drive around on the weekends and work on and tinker with. Muscle cars are my first love. BMWs were a big change for me since I had my E90, my 2011 E90. One of the big things for me when the N20 came out, and in my case the N26, is the fact that it was a turbo car that was kind of shifting with the times, and the tunability is absolutely phenomenal. You can make minor changes quickly by coding the car, by tuning the car, and things like that. And these changes are not going to break the bank, but they're going to add as much horsepower and as much torque as you possibly can. So let's start from the beginning. Price point. So because it fit into my budget, I mean, I had to walk onto the lot and look for something that fit my lifestyle, right? There's nothing simpler than that. Cost was a huge thing for me. If I can't afford the payments, that just doesn't work, right? I would love to have a 335 or the new LCI update, the 340. I would love to have an M3. My dream was to have an M4 or an M5. It's pretty damn expensive. And it's something that doesn't fit my lifestyle at this moment. So now that we've talked about cost, let me kind of go into that a little bit further about lifestyle. I use my car to commute and basically make a living out of. So I needed something with room, check. I needed something that was sporty because I drive around town and I wanted something zippy. I didn't want to drive an SUV. I've been there, right? And I needed something that was going to be reliable and economical. Hence the 4-pot, the 4-banger. It does a really great job. It doesn't suck up gas every single day. But here's where I draw the line. I drove a 320. I thought it was underpowered. I didn't really like the way it drove. It wasn't anything about the build quality. I just didn't like the way it drove. I needed something peppy out of the box before I put anything on it, and the 328 fit. It was something that made complete sense because already it was faster and stronger than my E90 328. So with that being said, you already had one checkbox on top of that. Now, I can make this thing really loud. You can straight pipe it. We've already stuck a downpipe on it. It can make some noise. There are 4 cylinders out there that make a ton of noise. Some sound like a fart can, the 90s Hondas, and some sound pretty nice with the boxer engines, your Subarus. For me, I really liked the sound of the 328, and in comparison to the 335 or the 340, or especially the M cars, yeah, there's a bit of a change. But more importantly is, it's a tame car that I can have a conversation in. It's a tame car that can be mean when it needs to be, right? So there's that. On top of that, I got an X-Drive. I don't care what anybody says about X-Drive. I will immediately highlight the thing that everybody says. The suspension is floaty. Yes, it's floaty. But around Charleston, it's actually really not that bad because I'm not running it on a track. I am trying to get it around town as quickly as possible, and oftentimes my foot's down to the ground. But more importantly is that when I'm driving around town and I'm going through downtown Charleston, I'm not rattling my teeth out because the South Carolina roads are trash. So, with that being said, I would love to throw some coilovers on this. I would love to throw some springs and some shocks onto this. It's in the very, very near future. But with that being said, as for now, with something out of the box, the suspension works for me. It was a compromise I was willing to make. And honestly, it was a very pleasant surprise to not feel like you're rattling your teeth out or you're breaking your tailbone. I've been in those cars. The M cars do a really great job of making sure that their suspension is livable, but honestly, there's some guys out there that I've spoken to that it's really difficult to live around town in an M car, regardless of the suspension and regardless of the damping and all of that. And that's the sacrifice that you make for living in a purpose-built race car for the most part. So my compromise was the fact that I have a floaty suspension. Now, the cool thing about it is that when I pull up to a stoplight and I see somebody and they're like, it's just a 320 or it's just a 328, debadged, mind you. So when you have that and somebody tries to run you and you put your foot down, it's a lot of fun because the X drives take off the line so quickly because of the increase in traction initially. So getting traction is not a big deal. Spinning my wheels is not a big deal. I can go out there and take off and just keep moving. And for most roads around Charleston, that's pretty much the best thing possible at that moment, to be able to have traction to take off on somebody. To be honest, I haven't found a road in Charleston that I can outrun. You would easily say, wouldn't you love to have all that power? Yes, I would love to have a ton of power. Man, the sun was not helping me today. Okay, so yes, I would love to have gobs of power that I can put to the floor and just take the hell off for 2 miles. It's almost impossible with the congestion in Charleston that we have, and don't get me wrong, losing a second off of my 0 to 60s or losing 2 seconds or so off of my 0 to 100s, I kind of hate that. But with that being said, is whenever I can get it up as quickly as possible and use the full potential of the car. I've been in a 335, I've been in an M car, and the issue is that you can't use all of that power unless you were to jump in and get your car on a track, which I can still track this car, that's not an issue if I really wanted to. But the issue is that every single day, this car is a little bit more livable. So that's a huge determinant in me having a 328 versus the other two. So here's something that I'll also say, just taking a quick dig. Ignore all the haters. Your car is your car. I can mod the hell out of this car and make it exactly what I want to. And that's my choice, right? You're making a conscious choice yourself to buy and mod the car that you have. And it's not just because it's something that you are able to afford. It's something that you love to do, right? I've been modding cars ever since I was a kid. I modded my 97 Honda Accord, and that was certainly not a tuner's car, right? I certainly modded the hell out of my Camaro. So when it comes to having fun with it, make it your own. That's the fun part. There's so many people out there that are making their builds and having fun with their projects that it's important to remember why they're doing it, and it's for the love of cars. And when you go out to a show, it's important to respect all builds. So, I'm not saying that because I'm ashamed of my 328. Honestly, I would put my 328 against almost anything. I might not always win, but at least I would make the race happen. Let's say this as well. I'm not in any way, shape, or form ashamed of my 328. That's not why I say that. I love this car for practical purposes, for educational purposes. I obviously have an Instagram page and a YouTube page about it. It's fun for me. So I encourage you to enjoy your car and to also have fun with your build. That's the important thing, right? And additionally, if I were to run you coast to coast, I would see fewer gas stations. So I might actually be able to win this. So with that being said, so there you go. My story about how I got into a 328 Xi, and mine happens to be an N26, so I've got the additional catalytic converter, which makes me sad. That needs to go. But all that being said, I would love to talk to you about your build. I think that's one of the most fun things as a car community, as a BMW community, as an F30 community. One of the most important things is that you can come out and talk about your builds and really enjoy what you're doing. If you want to talk about it, I'd love to. Drop me a message in the comments and, let's talk about your build. Let's talk about your plans and see what you're going to be doing next. Let's talk about what complications that you're having because of whatever reason. I've been through a lot. There's a lot of people in the car community that have been through a lot and that may have run into the same thing. And being able to speak with somebody who's been through the same thing and to be able to relate is one of the things that can help your build go from good to great. And that's why we're all here and together as a community. So if you've got any questions, drop me a line. If you just want to talk cars, drop me a line. I'd love to. So if you enjoyed this video and if you're looking for more conversations around BMWs in general or some DIYs or even just want to see these discussions and participate in them, then definitely subscribe to my page, Project F30, and I'd love to have you. We're always doing cool mods and things that maybe you thought of and wanted to do yourself, and I'd love for you guys to be part of the discussion. Anyways, thanks a bunch. This is Rich from Project F30 signing off, and I will speak to you soon. Thanks.